Exactly.
Hello, Peter. Hello, Steve.
That worked, Steve.
Yeah.
How are you all doing?
You got it, Peter?
I've got it. Thank you.
Steve, do you see Dr. Rao? Steve?
Yeah. Hello. Good,
Not
good
yet.
afternoon for you, probably. Or almost good evening.
Whoever was that? Whoever asked that. I'm having some granola food. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
We are all waiting for the bus.
Well, it's bicycle day.
Bicycle day, yeah.
Today is to cycle to work.
నమస్కారం ఇక్కడ రాలేదు మీరు మీటింగ్ కాదు 5 7:30 మార్నింగ్ కదా ఆల్రెడీ చాలా మంది వచ్చారు న్యూర్ అండ్ అదర్స్ ఓకే రైట్ ఓకే స్పీకర్ డాక్టర్ రావ్ thought it is half an hour later conversion of the time.
Bicycle day.
It's -1 degrees here.
-1.
We have -1 for you people in.
We have 17 or 18, I think.
Good morning, all.
We're 17 degrees centigrade here.
17.
Good morning.
17 in Belgium.
Centigrade.
We don't want to hear that kind of stuff. It's minus here, as Peter had said. And I see Steve is very quiet because he's in the sticks.
Yeah. Easy now.
We're -1 here, but we woke up to a real snowfall yesterday.
Would you like to come from -1 to 39 in Hyderabad?
It's interesting. We have a 40-degree swing.
There you are.
I bet you we would like that swing better than you would like it the other way.
The neighbor's grass.
Yeah.
Over 15. 16.
Richard, it's good to see your face. Thank you very much for all your help.
You're welcome. Thanks for joining us.
No problem. And Peter, thanks for connecting me.
Is Patrick on? I didn't see him.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Hello, Dr. Rao.
Good afternoon. Good morning to some of you.
And good afternoon to you.
And good evening to you. It's 10 p.m. here. Oh, 9:30.
Good evening, Kumar Garu.
Good evening, and I'm trying to call Raj Kamal. His name is there, but he's not seen.
Okay. Steve, are you there?
Yes, I am. I'm just looking for the presentation.
Oh, don't worry about it. It'll fail anyway.
here.
It's Murphy's Law.
Yeah,
Do you recall if you sent an invitation to Mary Wilson?
I'll check. Just give me a sec. Well, what was the last name?
Wilson.
Okay.
మరగారు వినబడుతుందే?
You want to maybe?
I can hear clearly.
Can you hear? Okay, fine, very good.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
I muted my mic.
Ah,
I'll be right back.
But Peter, how is your old computer working?
good evening, Mr. Annadurai.
Good evening, sir. Good evening. How are you, sir?
Nice seeing you. Oh, I am
Yeah,
absolutely
our
fine.
immediate past president, Mr. Gopalakrishnan, also has come.
Aha, yeah.
Yes, I
Good evening, Mr.
you already
Gopalakrishnan.
mentioned my name.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, very nice to see you. I think sometime or other we will be very nice to see you. I think sometime or other
We see one Captain Singaraja, though his video is not on.
Uh-huh.
Oh, he has come? Yeah. Singaraja, sir, are you there?
Hello, good evening to all of you.
Good evening.
Sir has
Good
come.
morning.
Captain Singaraja has come.
Morning.
He's our past president. Yeah.
Good evening, Mr. Singaraja.
Good evening, Singaraja sir. Gopalakrishnan here.
Yeah.
Good evening, Mr. Gopalakrishnan. Good evening, RTN.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening to you. Mr. Shankar Rao, you are not seen. Shankar?
Yeah.
You can probably show yourself if you are okay. Yeah.
Maybe he's hiding something.
Some light is required. Good evening, good morning.
Good evening, Shankar.
The Germans have it right. Guten Tag.
Jawohl.
Every part of the day.
Yes.
You there, Dick? Oh, there he is. I've only got Kevin Wilson. I don't have a Mary Wilson.
You don't? Okay, I just sent her a copy.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
Another chore to do here.
Good morning, Steve. Must be hard work for you.
I'm just waking up.
Mr. Richard Furlong, I think you are the driving force.
No, I'm the caboose.
Okay.
I saw that.
How are you today?
Doing good. Thank you. How are you?
Very good indeed. Yeah. How is COVID doing in your country these days?
Which one? Say again?
Yeah, the COVID, the pandemic.
As of now, very much in control in a country of about 1.4 billion. We just have about 2,500 cases yesterday.
Okay. That's great because we're running in Canada, which is about 35 million. We're running about 1,500 to 2,000 a day. Higher. It is higher. That's just a province of Ontario. Across the country, it's probably closer to 4,000 a day.
Even if the Indian cases are underreported, the hospitalization it cannot be, and even that supports this number. I think total hospitalizations are about 14,000.
Oh, okay.
14 or 15,000.
Yeah, our statistics say we're about 90% vaccinated now.
Okay.
You're doing well in Canada.
Yes, yeah.
Because Belgium, with only 11 million people, we're still at 6,000 a day.
Oh, okay.
But it's down from 10,000.
Yeah, we had a surge about 6 weeks ago. I guess we were up to that kind of a number, and now we're probably cut it in half, if not more. But the good news is it's not as severely impacting people like it was when it first started.
Jack, how is it in France?
Yes, almost like Belgium. Decreasing.
Sorry, a little louder. I couldn't hear you.
Yes, it's a bit like Belgium. Decreasing slowly.
Okay.
Due to, I think, the good weather.
Steve, the noise is coming from Redme. If you can make me a co-host, I can mute people when they make.
Yeah, I already did. I was just looking for it. You're the co-host now.
All right. I've muted him. He's making the noise.
Okay.
He is muted.
We're looking for the presentation. I'm throwing it out.
Richard, when would you like to start?
Well, we'll start at 8 o'clock because we'll have more people. We'll do about a half hour of Probus Global information and business. And then we'll turn it over to our good friends in India.
As Richard knows, my good computer broke down yesterday, so I'm using a 15-year-old laptop. So don't expect a lot of video from me.
It's nice to hear from you.
Good God. You find it again?
Yeah, I got him. Red, we have muted you because your computer is making a lot of noise. So you'll have to push your space bar to speak.
In Australia, we're currently about 50,000 cases a day, and we've had a total of 7,164 deaths so far from COVID. Pretty low. We're probably about 85% triple vaccinated.
Yeah, I guess Australia was late to the party. You had about 18 months or so before you were really hit severely.
That's right. We were locked down for quite. I mean, West Australia is still fairly well locked down still, but most of the other states now are open doing business. But we still have about 50,000 new cases a day.
A day. Ooh.
Yeah. But we've had a very, very low death rate, fortunately. A total of 7,000 deaths.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Sudhakar from
Good
India.
afternoon.
I'm one of the members of the Probus Club of Hyderabad. It's a pleasure to join your meeting today.
Thank you for joining us.
Hello.
Thank you. Thank you, Sudhakar.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Andy.
మా ఇంట్లో కరెంట్ పోయిందండి కుమార్ గారు.
Your audio is visible, is working, Rao garu?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Only video doesn't work. Okay.
Let us see. I'm trying to work it out. The power went off.
Given the amount of work that needs to be done to the big level, they have incredible, but this is also what they want. Peace, quiet, and nature. They try to go through this. That's your option. I understand everything about this rural property. I think it's very quiet. Look through this person. That for you is there's no neighbor. Great property. And then there's
Dick? Are you there, Dick Furlow?
I'm here.
Did you send me that presentation? I can't find it. Or
Which
was
one?
Dr. Ra's presentation. Backup one. I thought you sent it to me, but I can't find it.
Hello. Hello.
Dr. Ra, did you send your presentation to Steve and I?
Open and renovate the kitchen completely. Create a bigger master bathroom. I have seen campers with bigger bathrooms.
It's gonna work well anyway, Dick.
I don't have it.
Everything will work. It won't be necessary.
That's from the guy with the 15-year-old laptop.
Exactly.
பால் தண்ணி விடக்கூடாது தேன் விடுவான்னு கேட்கிறேன்
I would think I have because she's on my sheet and it sounds like
Good morning. Good morning, Marlene.
Good morning.
Morning, Marlene. You and Brenda are doing a great job of bringing new members in Canada.
I think we've been very busy the past couple of weeks, haven't we?
Yes,
you certainly have. What is it, 16 yesterday or something?
I know. I spoke to a group yesterday morning.
Let me guess, Barry Huronia.
Right. I should go to every group in Canada and speak.
You should go to the whole world. We'll pay your way to go and process.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. No, I think we've received about 40 new members since in the past 2 weeks. So,
wow.
Yeah. I've got them all written down as they come in. I send them a little note. And so I'm quite pleased with that.
I sent all of the new members the Zoom link for this meeting so that they would know it's on.
That's good.
Some of them should show up.
Yeah, we should see some this morning. Been fun. I just hope we get some ladies from outside Canada. So I encourage you to talk to your ladies and see if they could join us.
Mary Wilson should be joining us if it's not too late for her, so you can talk to her about Australia.
It doesn't matter. I'm not going to.
Yes, that's the problem.
To me, it doesn't make any difference.
We'll have another one to include Australia.
We did get complaints from the west coast of Canada saying this is too early.
Okay.
5 a.m. is just too early for some people. I don't understand.
Yeah. They're complaining about 5 o'clock in the morning. I don't understand that at all.
I was here. Why? What's wrong with that?
Okay, changed.
987 124.
Sit down and write.
Nushi, good afternoon.
Yes. Is there at all? I'll tell you what, she's softer when she gets food. And by the way, great to they
Got it. Yeah.
They don't always have to.
Peter?
Yes?
I'm wondering.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
I don't know. अंधेरा तो हो गया, बादल भी गरज रहा था.
Eating up bandwidth.
She'll come. It's a girl. It's open.
You think the YouTube link is eating up bandwidth?
It shouldn't make any difference. That's going directly from Zoom, I believe.
I do too, but we've got a lot, more crackly stuff.
I think it's just a lot of people with noise in the background.
Okay.
I'll zap them as they show up.
Well.
Anyone who is muted, you can usually use your space bar just to talk. So that way there's less background noise from your room.
Coffee? No, ma piacere.
Okay, 5 minutes.
Namachayam sir, have you come? RTN sir, are you there?
Sorry.
Yeah, it is. Okay. Hi, everyone.
Good morning, Linda. Your eyes are open.
My earbuds. I didn't
Linda's
even
a
need my
5
alarm
a.m.
today. I just woke up.
Not even 5 o'clock yet.
I know. And as I said, I didn't even need my alarm. I just woke up. So that's great.
Must have been very important to you.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning, Brenda.
Morning.
Good morning. Yeah.
Must be early. Everybody's so quiet.
We did all our talking before you got on.
Oh, that's. You're not gonna let me know what's going on?
No, it's quiet.
Okay.
When you are still in the process of connecting.
I don't want to even call breakfast because of me.
Morning, Rao Garu.
Morning,
Good
Andy.
evening. Good evening,
Good
Andy.
evening. Good evening.
How got it? Ram
Good
Mukherjee
evening.
came in and disappeared.
Yeah, Ram also should join anytime.
I saw him.
Good
but he
evening. Good
Hi,
evening.
Kumar.
Good evening.
Rao Garu, good evening. Kumar Garu, good evening.
Good
evening,
evening.
Kumar
Good
Garu.
evening. Good
Good
evening.
evening,
Good evening,
Bajaj.
Aditi.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening, good evening.
Linda, do you understand what evening means?
Good evening. In India, it is good evening. In Canada, it is good morning.
Yeah.
Very much good morning.
Linda's not sure. Maybe it's still last night. She's just been up all night.
I have my coffee. I'm good to go.
Right now in Hyderabad, we are having some welcome showers to relieve us from 39-degree heat.
Wow.
We'll give you a few negative degrees and that will help.
Yeah.
We'll offer a few.
Yes.
Well, where I am in Atlantic Canada, we're expecting some snow tomorrow.
Go regular sound and see what happens.
We had snow yesterday morning here.
Did you?
నేను ఇక్కడ వచ్చి మళ్ళీ సుసు వెళ్తారా లేదా
Hello, Nick. Welcome.
వాడు పైగా ఉండదని చూస్తుండే వచ్చి చూసినట్టు ఐడియా వచ్చింది ఓ సర్వీస్ ఇంట్లో సర్వీస్ కాలే అవునా
Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon and good evening. Welcome to Probus Global. This is our quarterly meeting. And welcome everybody, as I say. Today's format, we're going to have a quick review of Probus Global and some of the action plans we need to put in place. And after that, we will switch over to India, and Dr. Ra will give us a very informative presentation of what's going on in India. So once again, welcome everybody. And we'll start this morning by doing a review of what our membership in Probus Global is currently. And I'll turn it over to Peter Jennings, and he has some real interesting charts to show everybody this morning. Peter. Peter, you're on mute, I think.
Watch for it.
I'd forgotten about this. It goes on to mute automatically when you share for some strange reason. Everyone can see this now?
Yes, we can, Peter.
Great. Okay. This is a chart showing when we first started in 2019. There was just a handful of people, but by the beginning of the year, we'd put together 34 members. And as time went on, we gained a lot of members in the UK, thanks to Shirley Roberts. By the end of the year, quite a few more in the UK and Canada. And you can see as time went on, more Canadians, Australians joined us, and continuing on till the current one. Just for fun, I'll show it as a race, starting from the beginning. And you can find out who's winning here, but the UK is still winning at the end of 2019. And we'll continue to stay in the lead until Marlene and Brenda come along. And suddenly the Canadians are catching up at a rapid rate here. Meanwhile, you can see the Indians and the South Africans working their way up on the left-hand side of the chart. And that was the last couple of days, as Marlene said, a lot of new members. So just for the fun of it, let's see if we can bring up this chart here, which shows today 285 in Canada, 308 in Britain. We're going to form a coalition government, by the way. 74 from Australia, South Africa, and in Ireland, Belgium, and a few other people. That's Richard here, this dot on this one, and that's me over here and Steve. So anyway, I wanted to just do that quickly and not take too much time, but it shows the recent growth we've got. These statistics are at Probus Global/statistics if anybody wants to look at them. And if you like the old-fashioned standard chart with the countries, that's the way to do it.
Okay, thank you, Peter. It was intriguing chart. Thank you. And Linda, you're going to talk a little bit about getting information on clubs, registration, that type of thing.
Linda, you're muted.
Sorry. I get approximately 12 to 20 emails a day where various people have logged in to check out a club, and automatically I get an email, Peter has arranged this, and I send it out to the club and ask if our information is current. And about a third do reply, and then I immediately update their information on our website. Unfortunately, I am seeing a trend where a lot of them said during the pandemic they have suffered and their membership has declined, but they're moving on, and they're hoping the in-person meetings will attract the old members as well as new. So that part looks really good with a lot of the clubs that respond. So that's about it for now.
Okay, thank you, Linda. And the important thing is keep information flowing to Linda. And that way we keep our information updated as far as our website is concerned. And that's important for when people want to communicate around the world with the different members.
Mm-hmm.
I just had a few things I wanted to update. We had formed 2 committees recently, and we certainly continue to look for volunteers. One is on Probus Day, and that will be October 1st, tie in with the United Nations. And so far, Linda and Marlene have volunteered, but certainly we're looking for more help in putting together a program for Probus Global on October 1st. The other committee we have is for looking at the Probus Global structure. Right now, as Peter indicated, our membership is growing, As of yesterday, I think we were about 825 members, and that's in a little over 3 years when we grew from the low 30s up to 830 or 40. So the way we structured the Probus Global at that particular time, we really need to evaluate where we are and how we move forward as more members continue to join us. One of the real issues we have is we do have some costs associated with Probus Global, and right now we're revenue new. We don't have any revenue, so we got to consider how to overcome that issue. So I'm looking for people to help to join us and probably register Probus Global. And right now it sounds like maybe using Europe as the location will be the best benefit to us. The other thing is, I'm not sure Rob had joined us today, but he had been our newsletter editor for the last 3 or 4 editions, and which I'd like to thank him for his work, because it's been a fantastic publishing achievement that he has. He has decided that he'd like to move on because he's been extremely busy in Australia, particularly with the pandemic there, keeping people informed what's going on. So Mary Wilson has, from Australia once again, has decided to join us and take over the role as publisher. Thank you, Mary. Yes, I was going to introduce you in a second. Mary is down on the left-hand corner there waving to us, and we really appreciate for Mary stepping up. And what we'd like to also mention is that we'd like people to start submitting articles for the next newsletter, which we targeted for July, early August as our publishing date. And you can send articles to any of your management team, or you could go to newsletter@probusglobal.org and just send anything you have to Mary. Also, in the next edition, we'd like to add one other feature to the newsletter, and that would be letter to the editor. And if you have comments, thoughts, whatever, we can't guarantee we'll get them all published, but please, if you have comments, particularly if your thoughts on how we could do things better, please get them to us, and Mary will look after publishing and handling them. So thank you very much, Mary. And once again, say hello, Mary. Unmute yourself, please. Okay. You're muted, Mary. Okay, I guess. Okay, Mary. Okay. Yes, now we can. Yes, thank you.
Mary from Brisbane in Queensland, Australia. And I've been a member of Probus Global from the very early days. And I'm delighted to help out with the newsletter.
Thank you very much, Mary. And Mary has been publishing the newsletter for her club for many, many years. And you can go into Mary's contact, go to her club, and you can see the newsletter quality that she's been doing over the years. Thank you very much.
If you go to the Probus Global newsletter page, her last year's worth of newsletters from Holland Park are on our page as well.
Okay, great. Thanks, Peter. Once again, thank you, Mary. That's great. Moving on. One thing that we do have on our website, I don't think a lot of people are aware of it. We have, excuse me, we have a lot of information out there. It's on our management page. Go to About and you'll find it. But there's a lot of things that we can do to help different clubs around the world. If you go to that page, you'll find things like how to start a Probus club, how to make a club successful, membership development and retention, reopening after COVID-19, how to set up Zoom and hybrid meetings, how to record your meetings. setting up a website. I'll mention that one. That's a new one we've just added because one of our clubs here in Canada was looking at how do we get into the modern age and add a web page, that type of thing. And Patrick in UK stepped up immediately and helped them out to move forward and look at how to organize a web page for their club. Another very interesting one and very informative is our operating manual. It gives you all the nuts and bolts of what you need to do as far as running a club is concerned, from your profile for each management position to how to run your coffee break at your meeting. So very informative. And the other thing that's a recent addition, which you read about in your latest newsletter, is the Speakers Corner. We have a list of speakers from around the world, from Australia through Canada to the UK, through South Africa. Just an amazing amount of individuals that have put their name forward that are available to do virtual speaking up programs for all clubs anywhere in the world. So check that one out. It's a great option. So that's a little bit of an update on Probus Global. And moving on from there, I'll turn it over to Marlene, Marlene Pierce from Canada. She's going to talk a little bit about her upcoming presentation and speakers and chat line and all around just getting to know members from around the world. Marlene.
Well, our chat meeting for the ladies who belong to Probus Global is on Tuesday coming up on May the 3rd. And it is at 2 o'clock Atlantic time. That's my time. I have my own women's club here. The Women's Club of Southeast New Brunswick are going to help me, and they're sponsoring the meeting for me because we have a Zoom contract and they're letting us use that. So the Vice President, Mary Campbell, is going to be the host. And we have the three of us have worked on a list of questions that we probably won't get to answer all of them, but at least we hope that they'll stimulate some good conversation. And I expect the meeting will be about an hour, maybe an hour and a half. I'm just not sure. But it's been interesting because I do speak at a lot of clubs. This past week, I've spoken at 2 clubs of Brenda's clubs. And after I finish speaking, it seems that we get a lot of members of those clubs that I spoke to, and they join Probus Global. So that's interesting. So I don't know how many we'll get at our meeting on Tuesday, but I think everyone will be interested, and it'll just be fun. And I remember I attended 2 of these when Shirley had them, and I think we only had about 20. But it was interesting talking with people. So I hope we get a few people other than Canadians, but it'll be still fun to talk to Canadians too across the country. So I think it's going to work well. Thank you.
Thank you, Marlene. And please pass on the word because I think you'll find it is a very interesting program. And as Marlene mentioned, Shirley really did enjoy them when we first started Probus Global. Moving on, we want to talk a little bit about Europe. Jean-Pierre and Gauthier, we're going to talk about marketing Probus in Europe.
Yes, I'm going to start with France, and Gauthier will follow me with Belgium. So for France, we had our yearly general meeting on April 8th in Lyon, for the first time out of the north of France, where the majority of clubs are gathered. Unfortunately, our Belgian friends who were invited had to cancel their participation because they wished to attend to the funeral of the second president of Probus Belgium, a pity. Here are the main points that we have examined during the meeting. The board of Probus France has been reconducted for 1 year, as well as the college of experts we have. A main discussion has been held about the admission of ladies in our club, brand new for us. So far, the club members were only men, and this since the creation of Probus France. Unanimously, the Assembly has voted for, and then from now on, all the ladies can be integrated in Probus clubs. With almost 1,300 members in France in 65 clubs, Probus France continues its development with the creation of 2 new clubs in 21 and the coming creation of 4 new clubs in 22. We had in 2021 3 meetings of president, 1 in Brittany, 1 in south of France, and 1 in the north of France, which is quite brand new for us. About our international relation, in addition to the excellent contact that we have with our Belgian friends, Jean-François Guinet made a presentation of Probus Global, and this presentation has been followed by demands of some clubs to get more information about Probus Global and be listed in this club. As you can see, Probus France is moving forward and will soon be up to date by integrating ladies. Gauthier, it's for you. Your micro, Gauthier.
Thank you very much, Jacques-Pierre. Hello to everyone. Linking also to COVID, I must say that in 2022, the number of Probus members in Belgium was reduced by 200. So partly by attrition, deaths, or retirements from active membership, and with a lack of new members. But we're trying to work on that. As to Probus Global membership, for each new member, I welcome them with an email and send my personal contact in order to welcome them, and mention that they can contact Probus Global through Jacques-Pierre, myself. At present, we have 33 members, which is not so bad, considering we're only joined from starting, as you saw in the nice presentation of Peter. We started with 0 in 2019. We're at 33 now. I made a brief presentation on Probus Global in my own club just last week. As far as Belgian Probus is concerned, we changed presidency. I stepped off as president and passed it on formally on the 25th of March. The new president is of a different region, which is good. The president of France, Philippe Cattin, was present and gave us a little speech. Unfortunately, Jacques-Pierre was ill, as I was myself absent due to COVID. About the joint initiatives of Jacques-Pierre and myself, we did not discuss yet to prepare initiatives in general, but we invited the Netherlands for a joint meeting. Unfortunately, the reaction to that was rather cool, this year being the end of the presidency of the current president. So we'll have to tackle the Dutch people in a different way. Is it because of the distance or the final year of presidency? I don't know. Generally, we meet together at the biannual General Assembly of the Dutch Probus. So we'll see. As to Germany, we have the intention to, we propose to contact each of the 12 clubs and see what comes out of it. And that's about as far as we got so far.
Thank you, Gauthier. Thank you, Jean-Pierre.
You're welcome.
Both of those gentlemen became part of the Probus Global Management team back in the late fourth quarter, early first quarter of this year. So thank you very much for being proactive and starting to look at Europe as to how we could really market Probus, but also introduce Probus Global. So thank you once again. Moving on, Nick French, who I've noticed joined us. Nick was going to talk about a little bit about what was going on in South Africa and some of the corrective actions he was going to put in place to move South Africa forward. Good morning, Nick.
Yeah, morning, Richard, and good day, everybody else. Pleasure to be with you again. And yeah, my duty is to report back to you the goings on in South Africa, of which, in terms of Probus, of which there's been quite a lot of movement lately, and the news is not good. What has happened is we've more or less come out of COVID since the beginning of this year, and those clubs that are strong enough and vibrant enough to get back into in-room meetings have done so, mine being one of them. But there are a lot of others that have been very slow to come back, and actually a number have more or less discontinued operations to the point that they have actually formally closed down. Might I say, with a little bit of guidance from ourselves as the Probus Association, as far as that is concerned. The reason for this is as follows. Before COVID in 2019, particular clubs in question were already failing. In fact, they'd already failed. They weren't holding regular meetings. The executive councils for those clubs were aging, not really very dynamic or active, and they weren't able to recruit new members. So for that reason, in the past few months, we've engaged with these particular clubs and said, listen, guys, either we step things up and you get going again, or we just close down, because we cannot have this sort of one or the other. You have to decide, because otherwise, if you're going to carry on doing nothing and you're part of the association, you're actually consuming a lot of time and effort for nothing, unless you're prepared to step up and do something to recruit new members. Anyway, the bottom line is, and not surprisingly, is that they really said they'd prefer to close down than make the effort to try and stay alive and get stuck in and do things. So the net result is we've lost 6 clubs in the last 3 to 4 months out of the 79 in South Africa. 4 of those are from the Western Cape, who we've actually engaged quite closely with, because that's where I sit. There is one club that's that I think had closed down a number of years ago that's coming back up again. But there are still a lot of clubs out there that are not actively meeting again, are sort of dormant and just doing nothing, which is quite a concern to us. And the bottom line is very simple. Most of the membership that exists to this day is aging, it's old, it's sort of like 75 years plus. A lot of the members that are still there have already served on the Exco and aren't prepared to come back. Many clubs have excos that are just cycling over and over again every year, and sooner or later they're going to turn around and say, we've had enough, somebody else please put your hand up. And unfortunately, members are not prepared to do that. In a number of cases, they actually said, look, we'd rather just not have the club. And that has resulted in the demise of it all. So yeah, that's not very good news. But the thing is, this was always going to be an issue from about 3 or 4 years ago. One could see it coming. So what we've done is we've now left with and particularly in the Western Cape province, a core of clubs that are running well and solid. There are 18 of them. And the plan is to work with them to keep them sustainable in the long term, so they don't slip into that category of clubs that have failed. And what this is going to mean is that we, as the Probus Association of the Western Cape, are going to have to work with the Exco in each of these clubs not telling them what to do, working with them and supporting them to promote themselves, come up with innovative ideas. Perhaps a lot of the things that are published on the Probus Global website are prime examples of what we could be doing. But it has to be a collaborative effort. We have to change the attitude of those presidents and the excos to step up and actually roll their sleeves up and do some good, proper, hard work, because that is what is needed to keep going. So what will be happening is in June, we have a provincial AGM, and it's going to be an AGM with a difference. So in other words, all the presidents and those exco interested of various clubs, we meet in a particular venue, we do the normal AGM stuff, but I'm going to devote a lot of time to debating how we are going to remain sustainable with what we have and attract younger members and people with expertise and commitment who are prepared to step up and do a lot of work. So it's going to be a bit of a crunch meeting. I think it's on the 23rd of June, where we will discuss this and decide what our actions are going to be. So it's kind of interesting. Now, I've just spoken from a provincial point of view here in the Cape area. Further afield in South Africa, it's a little bit difficult to keep tabs on what's happening there, because obviously we don't get to visit clubs or have them come together in one center. But we are also looking to see what we can do there to identify which clubs are vulnerable and what we can do to try and keep them going. But unfortunately, this is what we're stuck with, is the fact that there are not a lot of willing people out there who want to really get stuck in and do a lot of work. And to that end, the exco of our provincial association is struggling to get new people to step up as well, for that same reason. So even our exco for the Western Cape is potentially under threat in 2 to 3 years from now. So I'm afraid the news is not all that good, but we are going to certainly try and get a lot more dialogue and a lot of interaction going with those clubs that are keen and have the right attitude to survive. There's a saying by a salesman called Zig Ziglar. He used to be a motivational speaker. It's your attitude, not your aptitude, that determines your altitude. And that's what we've got to do. We've got to change these attitudes. There we are.
There we are. Thank you, Nick. Anybody can turn this around. You can. I know we talked when you first assumed your position and talked about the workload and the direction you're going to have to go. You certainly have grabbed a hold of it and moving in the right direction. Yeah. That's great.
Thanks, Richard.
One other little thing, while we're hearing from Nick, is a little similar to what we've heard is happening in the United States. We've never been able to track the number of clubs. They have no central association in the United States. They had about 7 or 9 clubs, and now I think they're down to 2 or 3. But the interesting thing that is occurring, we have an individual, ex-Rotary individual, who is trying to start up a club in Florida. So he's looking for any support we can offer. Right now, his biggest issue is how to get an accreditation for the club. So if anybody has any suggestions, please let me know, and I can forward information on to Larry Wright, who's actually originally from Canada, is trying to form the club. But his biggest issue is the Rotary Club locally will sponsor him, but how does he become really a part of Probus? So we're wrestling with that question. So any input, support, would appreciate it. Okay, thank you, everybody. That was great, very informative. And now we'll move on to the second part of our program. We're going to have a great presentation today. And to introduce our speaker, we have Ram from India. Ram, are you available and on? Ram was there earlier. Yes.
Ram, are you there? You'll have to unmute. Here.
Oh, there he is. He just unmuted. Good morning, Ren.
Yeah, I'm starting now. Well, it is my pleasure and pride to introduce our speaker, Dr. R.A.J. Rao. Dr. R. Rao, the first president of Probus Club of Hyderabad. He was the president of the club from 2020 to 2022 during the most difficult period of the club due to COVID-19 pandemic. However, by introducing innovative, interesting programs like online game, recitation, songs, skits, and childhood experience of each member in the program, the club under the president, Dr. Rao, became very vibrant, and we overcome this problem. Dr. Rao is a BSc with double first class, metallurgical engineer from IIT Bombay with first class honors, Purdue University, USA, and NIT Warangal. He has over 50 years professional experience in Mukund Limited, International Nickel UK Limited, and RPJ Enterprises in the fields of quality, technology, research, manufacturing, a business management school in Mumbai. Dr. Rao authored over 80 papers and published 5 books on technology and management. He was first chairman of Indian Institute of Metals, Mumbai chapter, visiting professor of IIT, member of Technology and Quality Improvement Committee of Indian Merchants Chamber, senior member, American Society for Quality, and is associated with several other professional bodies, including National Center for Quality Management, Mumbai, as its first president. Dr. Rao won several awards and honors during his distinguished career. Prominent among them are life membership of IIM, National Award for Meritorious Invention, Distinguished Alumni of Award of IIT Bombay, Nikon Award of USA, Santi Kumar Ketio Award, Professor Banerjee PG Enterprises Outstanding Achiever Award, and the Tarneja Award, to name a few. In 2019, he received a US patent for his invention on optimizing usage of water and other resources. Dr. Rao is passionately promoting performance excellence in both schools and colleges. As president, SBM Keshav Nagar Samiti, he is guiding to impart quality education to around 300 primary and secondary economical needy school-going children in Hyderabad. This is our today's speaker, Dr. R.A.J. Rao, past president of Hyderabad Club. Thank you.
Thank you, Ram. Dr. Rao.
I did see him earlier, Dick.
There is always some disruption.
Rao, you have to unmute yourself. He's muted.
Dr. Rao, you are muted.
This is good. Find him on the list here. I'll get it to pop up. You see him in the list?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Mr. Richard Furlong, organizing members of today's program of Probus Global, Provians across the globe, and friends. Namaste to all of you. What a pleasure to be with you this morning and address you about the current positioning of my dear country, India, to global significance. I thank my friend Ram, the founder president of Probus Club of Hyderabad, for introducing me. I also thank the members of Probus Club of Hyderabad, Probus Club of Chennai, members of other clubs, and invitees who joined us today. I was attracted to be a member of Probus Club of Hyderabad a few years back. As I was influenced by the objectives of Probus Club, such as friendship, frolic, and fellowship among the elderly achievers, with a smile and with a laugh. Achievers with passion and pride. We all lose out that quality. Myself and my wife are committed for the success of Probus Club of Hyderabad in India. I have decided to extend similar commitment to Probus Global when I heard of it. With Probus Global, I have added another important qualification to myself. I am the first Probus Global member from India. My wife is the second member. Ram, who introduced me, and his charming wife, Nanda, are the third and fourth members from India. I believe this is just a beginning. With our commitment to Probus vision, Probus global vision and mission, we are working towards enhancing the Probus global membership in India. Let's hope in the next 12 months or so, we will have many more members from India registered as Probus global members. With these few initial words, I'll move towards the subject of my today's talk, which I'll be making through a PowerPoint presentation. Can all of you see, please?
No, you're not up yet, Dr. Roth.
Pardon?
You haven't shared your screen yet.
Are you able to see? No?
No.
Oh, I can see you.
No, his presentation.
Can you see these
Okay.
slides? Okay.
Are
Shall
you
I go ahead?
He's talking about your presentation is not yet on the screen.
Your presentation is not visible.
Presentation is not visible.
Got to push the green share screen button.
1 minute, please. 1 minute. I think a similar problem happened earlier.
Now it is visible, sir.
Share this should be not.
There you go.
Hello. Can you see? Can you see now?
Yes, we can.
Yes, no, just not see.
Wait,
Shall I go ahead, please?
No, I think there's a problem and the 40-minute limit is coming in. Ah, now it's there. Okay. We can see you.
Can you see now?
Yes.
I can see it in Belgium.
Okay. Shall I proceed, please?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Okay. Oh, I hope nothing is coming in the way. Magaru?
It is fine, sir. You can start.
Okay, good. So today I'll be talking on the subject India, a re-emerging brilliance. If we look at the country, I tend to feel that the greatest assets of India are that we have a vast majority of intellectuals serving the needs of humankind. By this, what I mean is, there is a general thought in our country that whatever we do must be helpful to the humankind at large. It need not necessarily be only to Indians. Particularly in the last few years, we have a relatively high youthful population whose contributions have been recognized globally. And the efforts from our side, because of I could make out from the association with the academia and industries, etc., etc. When we talk in terms of our performances, we think in terms of the quality of life. There is a very strong feeling among the educated lot in this country that the personal quality cannot be separated from the professional quality. So to that extent, there is a linkage, there is a focus on enhancing the personal quality also simultaneously when professional performances are addressed. In this half an hour to 45 minutes, I'll introduce this topic of mine. And since the subject is pretty large and a huge canvas, I picked up only a few key areas, such as quality, technology. When I say technology, it is primarily the information technology. Of course, while I will also touch upon the regular businesses, I'll touch upon the work culture. There is a significant change in the work culture in India in the last few decades. I'll focus on the medical services, the education and training, and also the learning processes that we are able to see now in this country. I'll say a few words concerning the skill development before I summarize, stating where India is at this moment vis-a-vis the global positioning. Before I conclude my talk, and thanking those during this particular 6 months or so of my working on this paper, I had interviewed several people, I interacted with several experts, and I would acknowledge them before I close my talk. The whole exercise started when Richard, as the president of Global, he shared an audio video in the month of, if I remember correct, in January 2022, just 3-4 months back, showcasing India as a rising superpower. That video talked about India as the third largest economy, and it talked about the defense forces which India has, very successful missile program, including intercontinental ballistic missiles, etc. How India looks at the world as a family, and in the normal production lines, including how India has grown in the development and production of automobiles, smartphones, etc., etc. And also, it also talked about a large number of Indians who are contributing by staying in other countries, and also some of them heading some of the large organizations, including the IT companies, and the focus that is there in this country on the modern infrastructure. So Richard invited me then to address the Probus Global on India's past and current initiatives which have led to a positioning of this country to this level. Hence this talk. If I go back into a bit of history, and I'm referring here in the slide itself, the presentation or the preparation by one R. Kirk, when he talked on, or when he presented us the history of India, pretty detailed presentation. It was a very large economy for centuries prior to colonization. India was under British rule for almost 2 centuries. Before British took over India, during the 17th century, India had about a quarter of world GDP. That was the extent of richness of the country. After that, during the 2 centuries, it declined. We must say primarily due to the colonization. By the year 1950, the India's GDP was only 4.2% of world GDP. That was the impact. It has slowly picked up to a level of now, currently around 6.8%. Though we may claim that, or I was told that it is the third largest after China and USA. India got independence in the year 1947. Immediately thereafter, it was a socialistic government for a period of almost 45 years. And socialist government was chosen primarily to the nascent independent country to have the controls under the government. There was a very powerful what we call license Raj. Anything we wanted to do immediately after independence, we needed license. We needed approval from Government of India. Large industries, including steel production, was under government control. It went through, while there was a certain degree of development, and more importantly, in the country, the institutions were well established. The country had respect for democracy. The country had respect for parliament, judiciary, etc., etc. While the countries around India were going through several problems as far as the government and their management were concerned. But the flip side was that Indian manufacturing capability was not competitive globally. The premium was that a low levels of efficiency. In fact, at that time, I was working with a steel company in Mumbai. At that time, it was called Bombay. And we had a capacity, we had a licensed capacity to produce X tons of steels a month. When we increased the productivity and our production went beyond X, we were pulled up by the government. Sorry, you have crossed the license capacity and you should not do that. Hence, the product and the service from India was not to global standards. We didn't have the customer focus. We didn't have quality products, etc., etc. So there was a realization during 1990s, or even a year earlier, that it is time that we open up Indian economy to global competition. It was in the year 1991, therefore, the government controls were substantially taken off. There was incentive for increasing the efficiencies, etc., etc. The significant rapid GDP growth and even associated growths in various sectors can be seen in the country in the last 30 years. More so in the last 10 years. Consequently, today, the entire workforce, including the youth, there is a significant amount of commitment visible. It's conspicuous to revive the past glory and perform ourselves as global citizens. Several initiatives were taken place in the last 30 years, and I have papers on that particular subject. But I sort of cut them short, and I found among all the initiatives that were there, the attempts which were focused on the business imperatives, that's quality, productivity, technology, and change management, they were the ones I picked up, though there were several other initiatives in the last 30 years. And I said that developments of last decade also are most impressive. And whatever subsequent presentation of mine had a significant focus on the last decade performance of the country, more so in the last 5 years. Yes, while I say this, I must appreciate, we all should appreciate there's a lot to do still in the country. Here again, since it is a vast subject, I would cover just only a few key areas. The first and foremost I felt was responsible for India to come to global power is quality. Many professionals have contributed to manage quality in India. Suresh Lulla is a very close friend of mine. He is really a leading guru. who brought in several initiatives related to quality. Earlier, the focus used to be only what we call product quality. You perform, you bring out a product which has got a quality. But the focus continued, we have shifted relatively more toward the processes and systems. They had tremendous significance, please. That has resulted in a very high levels of product quality and service quality in the Indian industry. Most of the global companies now address what we call the poor quality costs. Many activities which have no significance whatsoever were knocked off. We have some of you must have heard of this lean management, etc., etc. In fact, the thought processes for most of us who managed quality in several organizations in the country, we were driven by the thoughts of some of the gurus like Dr. Duran, etc., which helped. For instance, if you see during 1970s or earlier, the well-established auto industry in United States was almost completely taken over by Japanese. The Japanese brought out tremendous amount of revolution as far as the auto industry and electronic industry, including cameras, etc., etc., by focusing on quality. So such a focus helped the country to improve the competitiveness and really saved billions of dollars. It helped the Indian industry, Indian service organizations to come somewhat nearer to the global standards. I can tell you during the period of 1970s in the country, the cost of production of steel in India was more than the imported cost of Japanese steel into the country. That was the situation. And then when we approached the government, I'm talking 1970s, the government protected us by declaring the import tariffs. There were import tariffs to the extent of over 250% of the CIF prices of the imported steel from Japan. That's how industry was protected at that time. It worked all right at that time, but the fact is it had a beating as far as the performance of India is concerned. Apart from that, there were several initiatives, please, like focus on ability, focus on attitudes. There was the labor union attitudes used to be distinctly different. Now there's a significant amount of change. India's focus approach has changed from islands of excellence towards the entire organizational excellence. I'll move on to 2 or 3 very important subjects. One is on the technology. If we talk of the information technology, India made tremendous amount of progress meeting to the global standards. We have 5 top Indian information technology exporters in the country: Tata Consulting Services, Infosys, HCL, Wipro, and Tech Mahindra. All these have developed the robust business models meeting to global standards, at the same time focusing on very high return ratios from financials point of view. And they continue to grow addressing people, and more importantly, user-specific processes. They have established as global giants as far as IT industry is concerned in supporting the established companies in that line. They address to the technology obsolescence on a continuous basis by recruiting fresh talent every year. Last year, these 5 large Indian IT companies have added 230,000 employees, and they are positioned globally to meet the customers. Similar thing we find in the what we will call the standard or normal engineering industries. We have a large organization called Reliance Industries. It operates the world's largest refining complex in Gujarat. It's the world's largest refining complex, please. Having established by itself, now it's moving into establishing green energy in the country. This is what the chairman said. I quoted here. In the last 20 years, India emerged as IT superpower. In the next 20 years, I believe, India will emerge as a superpower in energy, ending coal and oil dependence. The company is working in that particular direction. Their entire R&D focus is very much in achieving these competences. Like they want to achieve in the next decade, producing the green hydrogen. Their objective is to produce at less than $US a kilo and disperse the same at $US a kilo. It is already a global organization as far as Reliance is concerned. It is moving towards not only maintaining its position globally, but also into the new areas of energy. When we talk of medical science, medical services in the country, medical tourism is a growing sector. It's worth $5.5 billion, please. Annually, India receives around 500,000 overseas patients. They are attracted towards India due to several factors. I listed down just a few. The medical costs in India are low, significantly low. They are at least 20% cheaper for identical services abroad. Typically, a knee operation or knee replacement costs in India around 1,000 British pounds against maybe around 8,000 pounds also in UK in the private sector hospitals. In India, there is no waiting period, please. India has the latest medical technologies and facilities. Government of India has eased the travel. You can get a medical visa within 24 hours. All the hospitals, major hospitals, they comply to global quality standards. They get assessed on an annual basis. They have well-trained doctors. And more importantly, many of our medical doctors and paramedical personnel, they speak very good English. So to that extent, they are multilingual personnel. In the case of the medical pharma industry, Indian pharma industry, last decades has been a phenomenal growth. It is the largest provider of generic drugs globally. It is third in terms of pharma production. It supplies HIV medicines at less than $1 in comparison to typically around $10 or so abroad. India has 3,000 drug companies and 10,500 manufacturing units, and the number is growing. Just to complete the story, the domestic market is typically around 42 billion in the year 2021. And the target is to increase it to 120 to 130 billions by 2030. The drug and pharma exports from India are currently around $25 billion. When we talk of pharma industry, we have to also keep in mind, or we have to talk in terms of research and development in that area. There is a conference in February 2022 where I was invited. I attended that conference. In that conference, the feeling was the Indian pharma and life sciences sectors has to graduate from being the pharmacy of the world to innovator of the world. These are the words of that in the conference, please. But the point is, when we talk of research and development in this area, the investments are of very high risk. They can be really accelerated or made successful only with a robust industry academia partnership, which is currently pretty low in our country. The return of investment uncertainty is too high. So in this area, it is the government of India which has to step in with proper support mechanism, support system in place. And I tend to feel it sure is a challenge because I don't see any activity in that particular area. In the area of biosciences, there is a certain degree of movement in the research and development in the pharma industry. In the last 2 years, the work on diagnostics, vaccines, antivirals, etc., have been phenomenal. Its revenue was 90 billion in the year 2021. And it is likely to definitely touch at least 150 billion tons by 2025. Let us look at the India's response to COVID-19 pandemic. It has been unique, and we can say it is very successful. Almost 85% of our population are already vaccinated for COVID-19. Having achieved that and having established enough significant amount of capacity of the production and distribution of COVID-19 drugs, the current focus by these organizations is to build on and move toward the rapid and sensitive and specific diagnostics covering various other diseases. The nation felt the need to have a national biopharma mission. And the nation is moving in that direction, addressing these issues. Let me talk of something on the work culture. Huge change between what it was about 50 years back and now. If we take the world economies like steel, cement, and tires, they are warming up to hybrid work culture with significant cost savings on office space, talent attraction, employee retention, etc. Earlier, there used to be an organizational loyalty. Today, that was not the focus. The focus is to retain only the learning employees, because technology is seeping into every single operation, even in the world economies. Productivities, scale of operations, etc., etc. And it's no more just to meet the local requirement, whether it is steel, whether it is cement, whether it is tires or anything. For instance, as I mentioned earlier, in 1970s, India was producing about 1 million tons of steel per annum. Today, India produces 120 million tons per annum, the second largest steel producer in the world. More importantly, the steel produced in India, the cost of steel production in India is quite in comparison with the cost of steel production anywhere in the world. So therefore, work culture point of view for the organizations as well as the employees, the focus is definitely shifting from local to global. Look at what is happening in the area of new technologies. Here, the behavior patterns are changing. I'm a consultant to a few of these companies. I can visualize this is happening year after year after year. Many believe that the coming decade will be a decade in India. I picked up these from the webinar which Times has organized, called it as Times Techies. They are able to deal directly with, most of the industries are directly dealing with the customers, retail customers, avoiding the middlemen. The entire activity is not only just production focus, but creating enough amount of infrastructure so that the product reaches to the end user. In a recent study, McKinsey has predicted that SaaS, that is what they call, that is software as a service from India, is likely to be $1 trillion market cap in the next decade. A huge change, please. Let me say a few words about the education and training. The country has 580 million people between 5 and 24 years of age. It's a huge opportunity in the education sector. We have 250 million school-going children, which is a large asset. With mobile revolution, in fact, 90% of the school-going children are now tech-savvy. It's a fantastic development that is taking place in the area of education. it is the market of education. In the case of India, the education market is likely to grow to 225 billion by the year 2025. There is an issue that was being discussed as far as education is concerned, is penetration to the rural areas. That also is getting addressed in this year of 2022, and where an allocation was made of about $7 billion for literacy, with literacy penetration actually, with focus on e-learning, machine learning, mobile learning, etc. In the case of learning processes, there are education institutes who are tending now to go into digital in everything they teach. What they teach is not just related to classrooms, it is moving toward the boardrooms. There is a mechanism which was brought in recently that is called the corporate parenting in India. Corporates are really nurturing this at the primary and secondary school level, essentially to create global leaders, so that there is a significant transformation in the learning process. A very recent major decision change, we have an organization which is called University Grants Commission. It's a nodal agency, and we need UGC approval for any college to give the college degrees. In fact, in the month of March, the regulations have been issued for 900 autonomous colleges. They can provide online degrees without bringing University Grants Commissions in order. When we talk in terms of the skill, that is where India is very much lacking. So whatever I said is fine, but in actual terms, not all is rosy. Indian industry gets 80% of its talent from Tier 2 and 3 institutions. They just follow the curriculum, they hand over the degrees. There is a need for them to focus on internship, hiring of interns, etc., etc. And they have to still make the product that comes out from here as industry specific. We have very good ecosystem in polytechnics and ITIs, the industrial training institutes. They are also be getting supported by advanced training institutes, ATIs we call. There is a need for them to get tuned to industry specific skills and talents. That's where the focus has to be. When I mention this now about the youth, 45% of India's population is below 25 years of age. And we have an India Skills Report of 2015. That report says only 37% of surveyed people are employable. And only 10% of our labor force received the vocational training. In comparison to China's figure of 47%, Japanese figure of 80%, and South Korean figure of 96%. So there is a huge gap between what India is doing in the area of skill development in comparison to the global companies of other countries. India has some programs like Skill India, Make in India, etc. But while they are working in that direction, in my judgment, skill development ecosystem needs to have a greater focus in our country. A very quick coverage on semiconductors, please. Electronics is everywhere, resulting in huge shortage of talent, which was not felt even 5 years back. India is working to bridge the global semiconductor talent shortage in manufacturing, equipment operation, research, etc., etc. Currently, India's expertise is limited to only chip design skills. Others need to be addressed to come up to the global levels. Need has been identified. We're talking of a webinar which was conducted in February. Needs have been identified to vocationalize the semiconductor and silicon sectors in the country. They're providing a spectrum of skills to architecting systems, chips, trade skills, etc., etc. Currently, country is planning to invest 10 billion in the semiconductor ecosystem. India's semiconductor market was in the year 2020 was 15 billion, which is estimated to reach 63 billion by 2026. In this year, in the last 2 months, government of India received 5 proposals from various countries, global countries, who want to invest close to 20 billion. So India has brought out what is called a semiconductor mission, and it is still at the nascent stage. And if that gets implemented, let's say in the next 5 years, India could be a major competitor to silicon market in the world, particularly China and Taiwan. This just to indicate that because of the semiconductor shortage in the Maruti, which is India's largest car maker, which produced 1.86 million units in the financial year 2019, intends to increase the production to well beyond 2 million tons, 2 million vehicles with the semiconductor availability. So India's position, global positioning, is attributable to highly educated and talented workforce. We have pretty good education institutions like IITs. We have focused support from the political, economic, social sectors, etc. We have 12 Indian origin CEOs heading major organizations, global organizations like Microsoft, etc., who are providing appropriate support as the advisors. We have younger generation workforce. Economy is expanding in all fronts. We have a major military power, development of infrastructure, and so on and so forth. So several developments are taking place, which are helping India for the global positioning. In conclusion, I would say that 1991 is the turning point. Country has successfully implemented several initiatives to be globally ahead. It didn't happen just like that, but there is a systematic way of planning and implementation. Global positioning is conspicuous on many fronts. Current focus is to exhibit the brilliance in all chosen fields. I tend to feel the next 30 years will be golden years for the nation. Finally, I wish to acknowledge before you that I took input from several sources and many specialists where possible. I acknowledge them in the presentation itself at the bottom of each slide. I must express my special thanks to Mr. Naveen Dedia, who is in the United States for the past 30 years and an outstanding friend of mine. Mr. Suresh Lula, about whom I already talked to. Dr. N. Raghupat Rao, he is a surgeon in Apollo hospitals in Hyderabad. Dr. D. Ramohan Rao, he is an outstanding surgeon in UK. So with these inputs or whatever I felt I should communicate to you, I have summarized and tried to put it in a capsule. Thank you so much for listening to me. So I leave it with Richard, please now. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you very much, Rob. Very, very informative, very interesting. And thank you for putting all the effort and thought process in putting this together. Very informative. I'll throw it open to questions. If anybody has any questions or thoughts, or you can use chat, or let's use it verbally. Go ahead, please.
If you'd like to ask a question, you'll have to unmute yourself.
May I?
Go ahead,
Yes.
please.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank
please go
you.
ahead.
Thank you to the wonderful information. My question is, it's about economics. It's getting your country to move forward economically, making more money. But do you take into consideration, I know I should be careful how I speak. I'm from Canada, so we don't have the same thinking sometimes, but the poor people, the people who have much less, when you make all these profits, who gains from that? You follow my question?
Yeah.
How much attention is put to helping the very poor and educating them? And
Yeah. Yes. That's a very good question. The point is that actually statistics tell me that the difference between the rich and poor is widening in our country. Statistics tell me that. But when I walk into villages, when I look into, can you hear me, please?
Yes, okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So when I walk into villages, or when I interact with many of our own employees, I get a feeling that for instance, education is quite deeper seepage into the lower levels of economy. Education is because we can see many people going to schools now, and we can see the considerable amount of knowledge being taught at the lower levels. Now, to what extent it is getting converted into or getting benefited by the lowest economy, it's very difficult for me to say that, please. But there is probably a certain degree of marginal improvement in that area. Now, when it comes to medical, I covered the education. The medical, there's a distinct change. The medical services are being available even at the poorest levels, and considerable amount of medicines are being available to them through various schemes at nominal cost, or if not absolutely free of cost. So I see a sea change as far as the medical services being offered to the poorest of poor in our country. Some degree of I can see some success in the area of education. These are the two major ones which I can see that. So that's what at least my observation, please, independent of statistics. Yeah.
May I add a little?
I have a.
Can I supplement what Dr. Rao said?
Yeah, please go ahead.
India provides subsidized food grains and protein like pulses to over 50% of the people, total population. And 2% of the corporate profits, profit before tax, is mandated to be spent on what's called CSR, corporate social responsibility, and health, education, sanitation, etc. And I'm involved in running a company, and we have great difficulty in getting people, even unskilled people, to get to work. So though on one side, the rich do very well for themselves, on the other side, the poorest and the poor are not left behind. In agriculture too, in the villages, it's very hard to get people to get to work. Maybe in a way, some of them have become lazy, getting cheap food and using whatever they earn for drinking. Drinking has gone up in a very big way. Yeah, thank you.
Thank
I
you.
have a question.
Yes.
What proportion of the graduates from your education system are girls?
Sorry, I'm not able to hear you.
You're breaking up, Jim.
You are breaking up. The voice is breaking, please.
Try it again, Jim, please.
Do you hear the question? Okay. I'm graduate.
There's an audio problem.
The audio problem, yes.
Jim, could you put your question in the chat, please, if you could? Any other questions while we're waiting?
Hello.
Or Jim, you could try turning your video off. Shut your video off and your sound may come through.
Okay, I can try that.
You're sounding better.
I've turned off the video.
Yeah.
The question again is, what proportion of the graduate population are girls? What's the ratio of girls to boys in your educational system? No success?
Yeah, we can hear you. It's close to 50%.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Very clearly.
Yeah. No, at the school level, at the primary school and secondary school level, the girls are typically around 60%. 60 and 40 are boys. And but at relatively higher levels, the moment you go into the professional degrees and that type of a thing, the girl percentage is typically around 30 to 35%. But overall, if you see, the educated is, as Mr. Kumar said, it is typically around 50%, 50 each.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Girls leave after the school education because of various other reasons. Maybe economic, maybe they get married, or maybe social reasons, etc., etc. That's why at higher levels, the boys' percentage is much higher. Yeah, please go ahead.
Great, thank you. Question for you, Richard here. What is your balance of trade like, imports versus exports in your economy?
Pardon, I could not get you, please.
Your balance of trade, what is the difference between imports and exports from your country?
The imports are certainly significantly high. If you're talking in terms of the import bill, it's very significantly high, particularly of these a few major commodities like oil. And so the overall, if you see the balance between the two, the exports are relatively less. So that's where it stands at this moment of time.
How big of an impact does that have on your economy overall? Is this something your government is striving to change?
Yeah, you see, basically, when it comes to the food and food-related items, there is a significant production in the country itself. Maybe, some specifics, maybe a certain amount of imports may be there. But it only for certain engineering related goods, there are imports relatively more than exports. And defense takes away a very large chunk of, a chunk of that total imports, very large chunk. That's why there is a greater pressure from this year that, most of the defense units must be manufactured in India itself. But I think it will take a much long time to say that, okay, fine, in the defense field, India is totally self-reliant.
Just to supplement Dr. Rao, Richard,
yeah.
When we talk about imports, generally people refer to the customs cleared imports or exports. But if you look at balance of payments, other things come in like export of services and invisibles. So we are have a major deficit of the order of 60% to 100, as far as imports or exports are concerned. 100 is imports, exports are 60 for customs cleared goods. But if you include the services, particularly software and other related IT products, balance of payments, we are okay. We are comfortable.
Very good. Thank you. Gaucher.
To what extent would India be impacted by the war in Ukraine? Because we hear that a lot of agricultural and food products worldwide come from either Ukraine or Russia. And I was wondering whether India is impacted by that.
No. As far as the agricultural products are concerned, the Russia-Ukraine fight doesn't have any impact, please. No, it has zero impact, if you ask me.
Right.
But it has impact as far as the oil imports are concerned. Though we do import the oil from Russia, that percentage of import is not very high. I tend to feel it typically around less than 10% of the total imports. So to that extent, it is as far as this conflict is concerned, it has, in my opinion, very little impact in those areas.
Except for cooking oil, which is getting hit badly.
Yeah. Yeah, there may be a few individual items per se, like palm oil, things of that nature, but it's not very significant.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Bob Cameron, you have a question.
Yes, I wonder, we've heard a lot about technology and growth. What about the arts and culture of the country and its growth? Could you comment on that? Arts and culture.
Which one, please?
The arts, music, the culture of the country.
Movie business.
Yeah.
Pardon, I do not understand that question.
He's talking, Raghav, about music and arts and shows like that. Cultural issues.
Yeah. Okay. In India, of course, the cinema is very, very popular. And quite many films are made with we call them, we name them as Bollywood films and Tollywood films, etc. Basically, these films are made at Mumbai, and films are made at Hyderabad, films are made at Chennai, etc. That is that I think is thriving a lot. I think the actors and actresses and all that, they make a lot of money in our country. By and large, I'm talking leading actresses and actors. And I have no comment as far as the art is concerned. We do have some artists, but I don't know to what extent we can say that it is really getting to global levels or global platform. We had some persons like M.F. Hussain, who is no more now. But I'm incompetent of commenting on anything like art or anything, please. I'm not very much into that. Anyone would like to add? Kumar Garu, would you like to add anything in that? Your view?
Yeah, this is Singaraja.
Singaraja Garu, please go ahead.
Mr. Rao,
yeah.
Thank you very much for your illustrious presentation on industry, technology and all. But taking cue from Mr. Richard and also others, the ancient India was very famous for art, culture, then textiles, food grains and all. And especially when I say art and culture, our architecture is marvelous. And even now, nobody can beat India. So similarly, we were exporting textiles, silks, and metals, and spices. All those things were there. Now the industrialization and automation only has taken over us, and we could not retain our skills and technology over our traditional items, which I have pointed out. We have been exporting all over the world, and the trade was there between China and India and to all the other European countries. So, what is your opinion?
No, I think your observation is very much valid. At least my, in fact, I think we are the largest spices exporter in the world. And so I tend to agree with your observations, please. And nothing more to comment on that.
No, I am wondering where our technology skill in architecture, marvelous architecture skills have gone. It has been, my opinion is, it has been taken over by automation.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, okay. This is the feeling we can, yeah.
Any other questions from? Okay. I have one question I was thinking about is when you think about your production capabilities in India, how do you look at yourself from a conversion cost versus China, India, North America, Mexico, Europe? Are you, if you're going to make something, we look at our conversion cost over here, and what we've seen in North America is the transition from, particularly the heavy industries. We moved from the northern U.S. or Canada to southern states, then to Mexico, and then to China. So I'm just wondering how your conversion charts compare, particularly to China.
Well, you see, there is not a significant trade or any type of relationship with China. from as far as India is concerned, our imports or anything are very insignificant from China point of view. Basically, as a country, India never invaded, or India is never occupied the neighbor's land or anything of that nature. So that has been traditionally, that has been the case of this country. So we never invaded. Others invaded India, honestly, if you ask me. Now, that is the situation. Now, at the border between China and India, we do have certain degrees of discomfort, and that continues. I mean, it doesn't make any great impact as far as India's progress is concerned. That's one. And then secondly, from even there are a few students who go to China for studying medicine, just like they have gone to Ukraine. The Ukraine has quite many Indians. Like that, there are a few people who go to China for medical studies, and some of them, I think most of them, they do return with that degree. That's because it's relatively cheaper there in comparison to studies, medicinal studies in India. Otherwise, I don't think there's any significant trade or business relationship.
There's only one capital gain. I think you had the original numbers, and they're correct on the capital gain. Yeah, whatever it looks like. there's one.
I just muted Peter.
Hello.
Go ahead. Peter wasn't muted, so I think he was talking about something else. Go ahead. Dr. Rao, are you there?
Yes, please, I'm here.
Okay, very good. If there's no more questions, I think we should probably thank everybody for attending today. Very informative presentation. Thank you for your attention, and thank you very much for joining us. And if anybody have any follow-up, certainly this meeting was recorded and will be on our website in the next 24 to 48 hours. I wanted to mention one other thing. I've noticed that Robert Scott was with us today, and Robert is from Wales, and we started a new program called Traveler. And anybody that wants any information about Wales itself, just drop, and that's in our, you can go to our website and find it, or you can look in the newsletter, and Robert will, with his friend Rufus, get back to you. So thank you, Robert. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Very interesting.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to me, and thank you, Richard, for giving us this opportunity to be with you this morning. Thank you so much.
Thanks to the chair.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye now. Take care.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Close it. I will close it. Okay, so there are still 20 people. There are so many people there, Papa. There are many people still online.
Let's close it.
Okay, Steve, I guess we've done a wrap here.
Okay, just let me go down and make sure.
Yeah.
If you had anything you wanted me to do before I, Peter, are you there?
Yeah, sorry. My tax guy is doing my taxes this morning, and he phoned, and I had unmuted myself so that I could invite everybody to the Pelham meeting. Well, I guess everybody's gone now while I talk to him.
Okay, it's no problem at all, but yeah, we found out about your capital gains.
Apparently. Nice. any rate, the Pella meeting, I was going to put it in the Zoom, in the chat before everybody left. There's a magician presenting today, and so everybody's invited to attend. And it's
Hi, Richard. Hi,
and
Steve.
he's a
Thank
magician.
you very much
Thank you.
for organizing this meet. I wish many more meetings like this. And do we have any email?
Yeah, what was the question? I missed that.
Sorry?
What did you ask me?
No, first I told thank you very much, Mr. Richard and Steve, for organizing this meeting. And I wish many more meetings like this. Do we have any email group?
Peter, are you back on your taxes or do you want to answer that?
Yeah, there is an email group, but it has not been successful, and we should try again to promote it. Only out of 800 people, there are 10 people in the email group, and nobody writes anything. So I have to say at this point there isn't, but we really should try to make it happen, because I don't know why nobody wants to be part of an email group.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice.
But we should try again. But in the meantime, put in your application to join on the main page.
Okay, good.
Yes, once you do that, you will see the different programs there. There's a chat program, there's a video chat program, email program. There's ways you can communicate with members from around the world. And certainly you will then have contact with any of the Probus Global management team, like Peter, myself, or Marlene, whoever, that you can pose questions to. So please join, and then the communications can start from there.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Bye. Good
Bye
night.
now.
Still got 9 people on there. Should I just end it there?
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Have a good day, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Bye now.